Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. At Scout, we're doing things differently with our focus on legendary service and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other on to do higher quality work while keeping the clients at the center. Come see how it feels to work with a small group of committed brokers with the shared goal of upping their game. For more info, please contact Jennifer Nelson, founder and owner of Scout, 206-227-7966, or jennifer@scoutrealestate.com. Hi folks, Jennifer Nelson here with Pocket Hours. I am super excited you're tuning into this episode of Pocket Hours where I get to interview the one and only Cara Erdman. Cara in the house is her email, and if you have not had the privilege of meeting or talking with Cara, this is going to be a treat. Cara is one of those personalities that you are absolutely drawn to. She is a powerhouse in this industry, in the top couple percent of all realtors statewide. But more than that, Cara takes her responsibilities of taking care of her clients so seriously, while at the same time making you laugh a whole bunch.
Cara, thank you so much for being on Pocket Hours. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for asking me.
Of course, this is a crazy spring market, so I understand time is limited. So it's just going to be super fun to hopefully take a break from your normal activities and for having our listeners get to know you. So thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you. Absolutely.
So first of all, I want to know, what room in your house are you in right now?
Okay. This is my son's old bedroom. So we haven't quite officially taken down some of his stuff, but it serves as our office.
Excellent.
And it's a little bare behind me because all of those walls are filled with some baseball memorabilia. So we're going to get to the decorating. We're just not doing that right now.
You are a big baseball family. I know that. So
yes.
That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool.
Yep.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your family. Speaking of, you've got a couple boys.
Yep. I have two teenagers, 19 and 15, soon to be 20 and 16, which means I'm officially almost off driving duty. And then my husband, Jeff, we've been married, for what is it? It's so easy to calculate because we got married in 2000. So it is 22 years. And then we have two dogs. And I was just thinking, like, on my phone now, with my boys being the age that they are, there's so many more photos of my dogs than my kids because they're at that age that the dogs have become the new, like, toddlers, right?
Totally. Yeah, what kind of dogs do you have?
I have a big old black lab and then a newer doodle. What everybody else is doing. But I will say I kind of get the rage behind those with the no shedding and the no allergy thing. It's pretty cool. Yeah. I get why everybody likes those.
You have the two worlds there. You have the lab that's like leaving parts of him or herself all over, and
correct.
Then the doodle.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right on. And Cara, what part of the world do you live in?
I'm in Kirkland. So I'm over on the east side and born and raised over here. Well, actually Bothell, I was born and raised, but right over here in Kirkland, which is now not recognizable from when I was a kid. It is pretty different as I guess, most cities. But yeah, it's a great place to be.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about what got you into real estate. What did you do prior to doing real estate?
Yeah, I've heard this before, but I was a teacher. I have heard before that teachers make great agents. So I taught special ed for 9 years. My whole life, I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I went up to Western, got my teaching certificate, started teaching right away. And I made it 9 years, with sort of the harder, behaviorally challenged children. Mm-hmm. And so then when I had two of my own, I just was like, I think I need a change. I just never thought I'd say that. But, and then my husband, Jeff, who did have his license at the time, he was mostly in mortgage, but also real estate, was like, I think you'd make a really good real estate agent. And I was like, I do not agree with you at all. Like, and part of my hesitation is I do not like to learn something new. I'm not comfortable until I know something very well. And I thought, I can't start something where I know nothing. So at first I was like, absolutely not. And then economy was kind of hard back then. He was in mortgage and real estate. That was starting to tank back when this was taking place. And he's like, well, you got to do something. And so I said, okay, fine, I'll give it a try. And it was not a great market, but I tried really hard. I got my first listing and I'm like, yeah, this is not terrible. I see. Okay. Well, right away. I got my first listing. I'm so very excited. The market is shifting crazily at the moment. And so the buyers on my listing backed out because their buyers backed out and the whole thing died. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to do this. Nope, I changed my mind. I don't want to do this. But I did get a feel for, kind of the freedom that it had and the ability to make good money. And I sort of got a little taste of that because part of the teaching was the lack of flexibility. You're stuck somewhere all day long. I was looking for something totally opposite. So I was like, okay, you know what? I am going to give this a go. I liked the people aspect, the relationship aspect. And so I just sort of clawed my way through that terrible market, which is maybe a blessing in disguise that I had to learn to do it when things were not easy.
Totally. What year did you start?
2007 is when I was licensed. So it was pretty hard.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And just for our listeners, this will come through in the intro too, so they may have already heard this by the time they're listening to you. But I don't even know if you know this, Cara, so I'm going to give you a little stat on you. You are in the top 2.4% of all realtors in Washington state right now.
I would not even believe you if you, I really, what?
It's true. I promise. I looked it up.
Wow.
You're all set. So congratulations. That's huge.
That is news to me. Thank you so much. Wow. I was afraid you were going to ask me stats and I'm like, I don't know. I really don't. I'm not good at that, but so thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
So something you're doing since 2007 is definitely working. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. That is, I feel like I'm a little teary. Oh my gosh. Is that coming? That's amazing. Wow.
That is awesome. So
thank
huge
you.
Congrats. And that's really one of the reasons I reached out to you to want to interview you, because I think brokers listening into this call need to hear a little bit about your secret sauce. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. So before we do though, if you can think of one, I know that if you have to just narrow it down to one, which might be funny, what is kind of a weird or funny or interesting thing that's happened to you in real estate?
Yes. Okay. I was thinking about that. There's quite a few, but I think the weirdest thing that I came across was I had these wonderful clients selling a home in Monroe. I was their agent, so I was representing the sellers, and I found out they were actually squatting in the house before it closed. And so I think I realized it when I went over to kind of collect my key box, something like that. This was many years ago. And I was like, wait, you guys can't actually move in yet. This is, big liability and it's not your house. There's still maybe a week left before closing. And they were like, oh, okay, we'll get out. Well, then fast forward maybe 2 more days. And if you're new to real estate or you're maybe not even in the business, well, what happens before you close is you go in for your signing appointment. So you go into the escrow office, or escrow sends in mobile notary out, and you basically sign away your life on your new house. And that usually happens a couple of days before closing. Well, I was talking to the escrow company. No, I think I got an email. Like, you get sort of a update. Buyers are scheduled to sign on this date. Well, I noticed the address at which they were signing was still the property address. And I'm like, no, they cannot be there. They cannot have a signing appointment there. So then I was like, my sellers were so sweet. And they were like, well, what do we do? And I said, well, I'm going to call the police. I guess I don't know what else to do. This is, this is kind of a big deal. Yeah. So I meet the guy, the policeman out there, and he's like, I don't really see the big deal. And I was like, okay. Am I on like candy? Like, what do you mean? Like I felt like nobody was sort of listening to me. Like, this is not the way.
You're getting punked.
Totally. Yeah. And I felt like having my title and escrow chart. Like, here's the flow chart. Here's how things progress. You do not get your keys until XYZ. So anyway, it was just sort of this random, like me trying to climb this uphill battle that no one else was on board with me again. So anyway, it ended up, everything was fine, but you can't have the house until it's your house. So
you really can't. You can't be living there.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I can see how you're Twilight Zone a little bit, where you're like, I'm pretty sure that you can't.
Sure. Yeah, I had been in the business long enough by then to know this chain of events, and I was like, this is not falling in line. So, but I thought it was so funny that the escrow company sends that email. And I'm like, no, that's not where they should be signing their paperwork. Pretty sure.
You're like, unless they're out on the grass, then we're fine with that.
That was kind of an odd phenomenon. There's been many others, but that was kind of the first one that came to mind.
I love it. Yeah. That's great. Thank you. Good story.
Yep.
Okay. So there are going to be a variety of brokers listening into this call, but some of them are brand new, right? These people just got licensed. They're sort of saying, oh my gosh, what did I do? Maybe a little bit like you did when you first got licensed. So if there's a couple things you can think of to say to them.
Yeah. So it's interesting. My niece is newly licensed up in Bellingham. And so I've been having this conversation with her. And I think kind of the thing I noticed right away is that she was sort of and we all do this because we're excited about any business we can get. And she was sort of being pulled in all of these directions. And I'm like, nope, you have to A, set boundaries, and B, set clear expectations. And so I think that's sort of where if I had to focus on something, because I think you learn the hard way that there's going to be a lot of people out there who just sort of want to waste your time. And you don't have, you've got to really focus on actual clients. So I've kind of coached her into how to basically interview potential clients on how serious are they? Are they even qualified? And then just sort of setting expectations with them. I guess it's a little different asking, like if a broker's going to watch this 10 years from now and we're not in a hot market, it's probably not going to apply. But in a hot market, things that I do to set expectations, if I'm working with a buyer especially, is I will not even show houses unless they are pre-qualified. They've got a letter, they've got something, because in this hot market, houses aren't lasting on the market more than anywhere from 2 to 5 days. So if you're not pre-approved, which is sometimes how long it takes to get pre-approved. So just sort of with your buyers, I start there, I guess, with buyers, setting expectations on what it is you provide. I don't just go open the door only to have you write an offer with another agent. I don't just open doors. I don't take out pre-qualified buyers, setting boundaries and setting expectations so you're able to do your job to its fullest. And I guess in a selling market, what I've found is, as uncomfortable as it is, just to ask, hey, are you interviewing other agents? Because I think there's nothing worse than getting excited, getting your hopes up, getting all these things, and then only to find out, oh, we were just basically using your information to, whatever it might be. We had 7 agents lined up. We had whatever it is. So just sort of structuring your time and making sure you're working with viable clients. I think that's a big deal, because I remember racing all around town. I went from Tacoma to Vashon Island down south. And I don't think any of those people ended up purchasing or weren't ever going to purchase. And I was just so excited to be out there using my super key and leaving my card on the table, because that is exciting.
It is. Yeah.
But you also have to use your time obviously wisely and make sure you're focusing on the right clientele.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, I remember that too. And I started 20 years ago, that you can end up running yourself ragged and wonder why you're tired, and that you have 7 clients, but really there's only 2 of them that are truly your clients, right?
Very much
We're
so.
Just so excited to have a client that we get.
Absolutely.
We get going.
And then again, if a broker's watching this in 20 years, maybe gas prices are different, but right now gas is so expensive. You also have to be careful, because as an agent, if you're not making money, which is probably quite possible in those first couple, well, for me, it was a long time, you're going to be in the red, right? You're spending so much on gas and all of this that you're not turning over the right clients. And then I think the only other thing I preach to her or any new agent is to have confidence. And remember, those people don't know that you don't know, right? You probably do know. You probably know more than you think. You've been through the training. You've likely sat in some office meetings or did some sort of outside of your license training. You've probably sat in classes with other agents, or your office has hosted something. And just to portray confidence, because they don't know that you don't know.
Great point.
So, just have the confidence. Yeah,
for sure. Just for fun, we're going to tell people right now that gas prices are $5.25 a gallon. Exactly. So when you're listening to this in 5 years, that'll either make you laugh or gasp or something. So that'll be fun for the
You'll have a reaction of some sort
for the archives. And let's go back just for a second to that buyer consultation. In my experience, a lot of buyers agents will just get a call from someone that says, I want to see a house, and they jump in a car and go show them. And so trying to protect your time by saying, I'd love to show you that house. And I'm happy to show you that house, but here's my process, and having them do it.
Okay. Oh my gosh. And honestly, I mean, I hate to admit, this has taken me till now to finally have that process and have that conversation. Okay, not maybe now, but it took me longer than it should to get to the point where I was like, okay, before we see this house, and I'll walk you through a little bit of how I do it now. If they are out of state or it's not possible to schedule a meeting, and it wasn't really over COVID, so I've kind of gotten used to phone calls. We sit down, we have a phone call. And the first thing I ask, obviously, is, are you pre-approved? And are you working with another agent? It's shocking how many people don't understand the job that we do. And I've had people say, well, if I'm working with him and he shows me a house, but then how, and I'm like, nope. You've got to choose, because that's really, they don't know. Secondly, after I ask those tougher questions, I say, okay, why don't you do this? Why don't you send me? I know you've probably been looking online. Why don't you send me maybe a couple houses that you would have maybe bid on if you were in a position to do so? And then immediately what I do is I go online and I track it. Like if it's pending, I'll call that agent. If it's sold, I'll provide the feedback, or I'll still call the agent and say, hey, how many offers did you get on this? And then I immediately relay that. I'll say, okay, so this house you liked, let's just say it was 750. They actually ended up with 12 offers and it closed at 1.1. And it's just really good data, because I can say all I want all day long. This is a hot market. You need to be prepared. But until you actually demonstrate what that means to them, they're like, oh my gosh. So I've had such great conversations. And so far, I haven't lost anybody over that. I worried I was going to be scaring them off, or, in fact, I feel like it's been the opposite. They're so thankful. It makes me look good, because it makes me look like I am in touch with the market, because maybe it's an area I don't really know. And so I do have to call and follow up. And that has been sort of the process I take. And then I say, okay, so now, if you're looking at the $700,000 range, you really should be qualified up to this point.
Yep.
And that's a really great start. Or let's say I have clients coming up for the weekend and a listing comes out on Wednesday. I'll say, okay, I'm going to just prepare you that there's a chance these might not wait until the weekend. So, let's be prepared to, if you're ready to pull the trigger, you need to be available pretty quickly after homes hit the market, because there's nothing worse than them saying, oh, we're going to go to the open house Sunday, and then it's sold. So,
Yep.
So all of
That's
that kind of goes into my process.
That's great. One of the lines that I learned years ago was that in talking to buyers is to say, I need a commitment eventually that we're working together so that I can prioritize my time to my clients.
I love
right?
that.
So if I'm working with 10 different people and 3 of them I'm unsure whether or not I'm really their realtor and they're really my client, they're going to get less of my attention than someone that says, yep, you're our person, let's go to town, right?
For sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. In fact, I've had a couple people, maybe 2 or 3 moving here from out of state. So they'll say, hey, I'm coming up the weekend of May 12th. Would you be available to tour us around the area? And I've had to say, you know what? No. And here's why, because I am working with buyers that are ready to go, and I need to be available to them. And if I'm using your, time away from them to just tour you around, I said, you're not going to want that when you're ready to pull the trigger. You're going to want my time. And so that's why there's open houses. That's why, just drive by and do visuals. And so far, nobody's had a problem with that. Nobody. They're
great.
all like, oh, I get it. Okay, great. And most of it's because they don't know. I think they don't know how we're paid. They don't know how we work. They don't really understand. And so just a simple explanation, they're like, oh, okay, no problem. Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
There's a piece of this that I'm picking up, and for our listeners is to say, this is when, Cara, you talked a little while ago about confidence.
Yep.
And having the confidence to have those boundaries around your time.
Yep.
And saying it's all going to work out. And so the ones that fall off because they don't like your boundaries aren't clients you want anyway.
Correct.
Right? So the ones that are like, oh, she's in charge, she knows what she's doing. Let's do whatever Cara says are exactly the clients you want to hang on to, right?
Oh my gosh. In fact, when they get to that point, they're like, okay, we're in your hands. I'm like, oh, this is right. Then from that point forward, those kinds of transactions never go sideways, because they want my experience and my expertise. They don't want to be in charge. This is not their area of expertise. So totally. You're exactly right. Exactly.
I've seen the most stoic of engineers take a big, huge, visible sigh when they realize, I've got this. Let me handle it, right? Definitely. Let me take over for you. I know what I'm doing. So.
Oh my gosh, of course. And of course, in our area, you work with so many affluent, intelligent, savvy, whatever, heart surgeons, tech, all of it. It's really great when you see someone like that get to a point where they're like, aha, got it. You're this is your court here. This is not our court. We're going to stay in our lane and let you do your thing. And that's when things just really take off and you have a lot more success.
Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. Hi, I'm Jennifer Nelson, owner at Scout Real Estate. I started this firm with the vision of doing things differently, with our focus on legendary service for our clients and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other to do higher quality work. If you are interested in learning more about how a small group of like-minded brokers have come together to have some fun while doing a lot of business, reach out to me, 206-227-7966, or email jennifer@scoutrealestate.com. I promise you this, fun is a high priority for me, but so is winning. So if you appreciate those two things, you might be interested in Scout. Looking forward to hearing from you.
I remember a quick story. I was interviewing for this listing, and this husband and wife were there, and we were sitting in the living room, and they were asking me a bunch of questions. And at one point he said, I've interviewed a couple of other agents, and they're going to do it for 1%. And we can't talk about rates because of all the rules around that, but that was what he said they were doing it for. And the rate that I charge is higher than that. We'll just say that.
Yep.
And so I was able to say, oh, okay, well, that sounds like you've got a good deal going there. I'm not your girl. Here's the rate I work for, and here's why I charge that. And it was interesting to see his response, because he was both impressed and disappointed at the same time. Mm-hmm. And his wife ended up saying to me, oh, I like her, right?
Absolutely.
Because there wasn't sort of this giving in to, oh, okay, well, I'll match that. It's like, no, this is my business and this is what I charge. And so people end up respecting that. And I didn't end up listing his property, and I'm super glad I didn't, because there's always a reason for that.
And I think it also makes them question, why is someone able to do this for, we'll use your 1%? What are they not doing for me? And at least if it doesn't work out, at least you're causing them to sort of question why that person can charge so low. And then chances are they're going to see exactly why that person's charging so low throughout their transaction, right? And again, that all goes back to confidence, having that confidence to know you might lose a client, but in the long run, you're going to do yourself a big giant favor and save a lot of headache. And that's hard to do when you're just starting out, because you want any business. And of course, 1% is better than zero of anything, but it's a really hard one. And perhaps sometimes you just have to go down that road first before you can sort of get there. And I've done my share of that, not my share. On occasion, I've done that, and it is not worth it. It is not worth it. I'll say that.
Totally
but I'm glad I'm glad maybe I did it just so I can have more confidence to say, no, thank you.
Yeah. Been down that road. There's a line that somebody said, you can't lose what you never had. Right. So even with a seller that has a certain price point on a house and you have to do a price drop, which I can't remember the last time we've had to do a price drop on anything.
I can't remember.
Right. It's like saying to the seller, it's not that you're losing money. It's that you never had that to begin with, right? Because the market didn't bear that price.
Sure.
Okay. Switching gears, Cara, tell me, I know that every day is different. in our world, which is partly why it's such a great career. But give me just a rundown, a little bit of a day in the life of Cara Erdman.
Yeah, sure. And I was reading these questions to my husband. He's like, you're not really going to tell them what you do every day. I'm like, no, I'll make it sound like I'm no, because I mean, like you just said, there is a lot of it's a great job because it's always different. And I think having the flexibility and the power to control your own schedule is so empowering. Like if I want to get up and maybe schedule a time for yoga, or I can pretty much do that. I'm really a type A kind of person. So I'm very organized. I'm very good at time management. So if I do schedule maybe time for myself, I know that I'm making up for it somewhere else. So usually wake up, I've set some boundaries. So I now turn off my phone, or I do not disturb, whatever that is setting on my phone, starting like at 10 p.m. And it does not come on until 8 a.m. Now I can still see what comes in, but I'm not responding because, it just doesn't set a very good boundary, right? If I'm responding at midnight, guess what the next night's going to bring? A text at midnight. And it's not anybody's fault. I think if I'm trying to think about why someone would text me at midnight, it's because they think, oh, she'll see it in the morning, or, oh, I'm thinking about it now, so I just want to get it out. So I've just sort of shut down my phone because I've been woken up way too many times. So first thing I do is 8 a.m. I start responding to things, right? So emails, texts, but never before 8. I just really don't ever want to set that precedent. And then I sort of get up, I sort of start my day, have my coffee, sip my stuff, check the market. I go through all of my saved listings. So if someone sent me a listing they were interested in, or one that we lost out on, or anything like that, I sort of check the history. Did it go pending? Did it sell? Who can I provide this data to? I run my searches for the day for my buyers or my sellers if I'm looking for comps for a listing. And of course, I do that several times a day because the market's always changing. And then, if I'm not meeting with clients, I try to do something productive every day, because it is so easy to get lost in I don't have to work today, so I'm going to plant tulips in my yard, which of course you can still do, but I'm really careful about, and I think this comes from starting out in a hard market. What can I do today to make myself feel like I did something? Because we don't actually meet people every day or do long stints at a time every single day, right? I mean, I'm working all day long, but it's in sometimes little spurts. So, like for instance, yesterday I have my one and only sort of marketing tool that I use is called HomeBot, and it provides it's a little bit more complex version of, say, a Zestimate. And it's me in control, so I can sort of control the data that goes out, but it's pretty great. So yesterday I spent time updating my HomeBot. I added my new buyers, I flushed out the people that have sold their homes, and that was kind of my thing that I did to feel like I did something. But a lot of times I spend my day looking at my clients that I have in contract and going, what might they be wondering today? Maybe they're wondering, even though their closing's in 3 weeks, maybe they're worried about how they're going to get the key. So I'm always trying to be 10 steps ahead of my clients because I think they appreciate that so much. Plus, let's not kid ourselves. We can make great money. So what am I doing for that money? I don't want anybody to ever wonder, what is she doing to make? I mean, she got paid a lot on my deal. Did she actually do anything? That's kind of my biggest fear. So yeah. I'm always doing something to show my value. Whether it's like, hey, remember that house you wanted to offer on and we didn't, we ended up getting your house. God, do you know that just sold for whatever it is? Or I'll say, by the way, escrow is probably going to reach out to you and want your mortgage payoff. Make sure you have that handy. So I'm just trying to always think of something for my clients in contract that's going to keep them just in communication with me in a way that doesn't make them think, is she just going to come back with a gift after? I mean, where'd she go?
Where'd she go? There's some anticipation. I think that's the word here.
Totally.
That you're trying to get ahead of the ball so that they feel like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I had that question. Mm-hmm. And Cara just gave me the answer. So that's awesome.
Totally. Yeah. And boy, does she really know her job that she just didn't, she knew this question before I even knew I had it. So every day I'm always like, so they're closing in 2 weeks, they're closing. What are they going to need to know today? Or maybe I'm just going to resend my closing checklist so they can refer back to it. So I spent a lot of time anticipating what someone might need to know that they didn't know they needed to know.
Nice. That's great.
And then of course I might fill my day with family time and baseball games and all that fun stuff that, and I'll tell you, I think every single time, and I don't go to Starbucks a lot, but let's say yesterday I did, I still think to myself, this is such a luxury. And I think coming from a job that was not flexible, such as teaching, which probably is the least, nursing, teaching, anything that you just can't ever leave your facility, I still get excited that if I wanted to stop at a Starbucks, I can do that. And that, I think just transitioning to this kind of job makes me feel pretty happy. You know, yeah. I don't know if you started at this job and that's all you knew, maybe it's different, but having the background of an unflexible job to this job, I get pretty giddy about my days.
No kidding. Yeah. Taking the time to sit in the sun for 20 minutes when it comes out, like, wow, I could do that. Right. I'm not stuck in a windowless office. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
So, Cara, just for our listeners' sake, I would love for you to send me the closing checklist you just referred to.
Yep.
And then when listeners kind of send me an email saying we listened to that, if they want that, I can email it out. Awesome.
Yep,
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So what about those agents that have stayed at a certain level forever, right? Like they found themselves saying, oh my gosh, I keep hitting this many transactions a year. I sort of have this plateau. I can't seem to break through to my next level. Did you ever encounter that? And then what would you say to them?
I think the first thing, and I had your questions ahead of time, so I'll let the listeners know that the first thing that came to my mind is you got to make a change. You got to do something different. And so over the years, that something different has been different, right? And it all depends on where I'm at and how much extra, because let's be honest, a lot of that's going to cost money. Maybe I need to send out flyers. Maybe it's I want to subscribe to a new marketing program. So a lot of that's going to cost money. And if that's not possible, let's start there. Because if we're talking to new brokers, maybe they don't have extra money. And so in lots of years where I didn't either, I would go, what can I do for free that's different, maybe uncomfortable, but it's definitely going to shake things up. So one year, one of the things I did, and you'll probably remember this, is I did some videos. They were cheesy. They really didn't have anything to do with real estate. It was just me with a funny Facebook, a Snapchat filter, talking about something that happened that day that I got, people were noticing. And all that really did at the end of the day was be provide myself as top of mind. So when people thought of an agent, they were like, I just saw that video. Oh my gosh. That's really all we're trying to do at the end of the day, because everybody knows an agent, everybody knows a mortgage broker. How do we come to people's minds if someone says, hey, I need an agent, or they need an agent? So I started doing these videos, and I did maybe a couple a week for a while. And that particular year, when I look back, was a really good year for me. I have no idea if it was related to the videos, but probably. Because I was getting myself out there, and it was so uncomfortable at times, but I did it because I knew I needed to do something. And then, so that was great for a year or two. And then I find myself in that position again. And I thought, okay, what can I do? Now I've had a little more success. So I've got a little bit of a budget. What can I do? Well, I had just gone to a seminar, and the speaker was someone, and I can say his name, right? That's not going to, I'll give him free pub. His name's the Client Giant. And all of his whole premise is take care of your client. Basically, how can you take the best care of your client? So at the end of the day, when they give you a review, they don't just say, Cara was great. She is a good real estate agent. We enjoyed working with Cara. Like, how do you get it to be like, I have never in my life worked with such a great agent. And if someone was to ask for their referral, they would say, oh my gosh, hands down, you have to call Cara. How do you get there? And all of his whole thing was about gift giving. So I'm like, I'm a terrible member. I said I was OCD. So that means I probably have very little creativity. I find that with most of us who have a little bit of a type A personality, we aren't super creative. So I went out and I approached my really good friend that I've known since 7th grade, who is uber creative. And I said, would you want to help me come up with gift ideas? And it could be during the process, after, at some point, maybe we mix it up. Maybe we, send moving boxes to them as they're getting ready. Let's just do something. So we started this maybe just before COVID, I think. We started doing not only gifts for the people that I was working with, but whoever referred them got an equally amazing gift. And yeah, this is definitely not a free service, and I was willing to invest in it. But it, I think, is now what's kind of responsible for my next sort of increase of success. It has just been, I think, because it's really the only thing I'm doing differently, sort of a great change. I had to make a change. I had to do something different. And that's what I chose. And who doesn't want to get a gift?
No kidding.
I had referred a mover off and on maybe over the last 2 years. And then he texted me the other day and said, hey, there's a gift at your office for you. I go racing down there because I'm like, a gift? Oh my God. I go racing down there. And it's a glassy baby, the little glassy baby candle.
Yep.
I thought about that thing for 2 weeks. I'm like, I can't believe I got a glassy baby. I told everybody, I got a glassy baby from Rex the Mover. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is what it feels like to get a gift. No wonder people are excited to refer me. That's amazing.
That's great.
So that's just something. So make a change, do something outside of your comfort zone, just shake things up. Maybe I noticed my niece who's new, I talked about, she does a little quiz on her Instagram stories every day. She does a little, which kitchen would you choose? What do you, just something, do something.
Yep. I know you've heard the quote that says, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Absolutely.
Right. So we sort of expect all of a sudden to go to a next level of real estate, but we keep doing the same things. It's not going to happen.
Exactly. It's not going to happen.
And for our listeners, I think you've already probably picked up on this, but Cara is a wonderful personality, right? People are drawn to her because of who she is. She's lively, she's funny, she's entertaining. But I want to say that the people in your corner, the people that are your friends, your clients, are drawn to you. So you don't have to be Cara to have success. You have to be fully you, right? So Embrace the fact that people love you, right?
Correct. You couldn't have said that better. Absolutely.
Good. One other thing too, when it comes to gifts, certainly as your business increases, you're able to do some more kind of fun, fancy, creative stuff. But if you're newer, sort of middle of the road here, I want to tell you a quick story. This is years ago. I went to the dollar store. I'm not going to lie here. Right around the holidays. The dollar store, and I bought $40. So, right, one per 40 clients. And I went and hand delivered these to people during the holidays and just said, hey, got you an ornament, whatever. Hope you have a great holiday. I can't believe what happened. It was amazing. I got these text messages. These people are like, this is the most beautiful ornament. I'm laughing like, it's $1. It's at the dollar store. But you know what? It was beautiful. And here's why. It's that human connection, right? I thought of them. I went out of my way to give them a present. And so if you're in this call and you're thinking, I don't have an extra $500 a month to give gifts, it doesn't have to be $500 a month. It really can be just your time and energy toward that, right?
For sure. It could
Awesome.
absolutely. And
Awesome.
being thought of is the best feeling, right? Like getting that glassy baby. I'm still
For sure.
thinking about that. It's been 2 months now. And I'm like, I look at it, it's on my mantle. I
Yeah.
can't believe I got a glassy baby. I can't believe it.
That's so great.
Yeah. And I didn't certainly expect anything. And that's what I hear a lot from my clients. Because even today I was going to meet up with a client. I just sold this house. I wanted to just pop by and see how he's doing. And I said, oh, your gift is, I'm waiting on one tiny thing. And he goes, a gift? Why would you give me a gift? Like, you did so much already. I'm thinking, no, I did my job, right? I did my job. I didn't do enough. This is just to show you how much I enjoyed working with you.
Nice.
So yeah, people are just, they love to be thought of.
That's so great. Another quick story. Mercedes, the company Mercedes, did this whole research study where they figured out that instead of just sending a gift to their client after they bought a brand new car from them, what they did is reach out to the client about a week before the gift arrived. And then they monitored and sort of, figured out that the client's anticipation of the gift was as important as getting the gift. Yeah. So there you go. So something to sort of incorporate, if you don't, listeners and Cara, is to say, if you're going to do a gift, give them a heads up that the gift is coming. Because just that idea alone gives you a stronger impact, I guess, if you'll say, instead of that first minute of getting the glassy baby, if you would have gotten a call a week ahead of time that said, hey, I'm sending you a gift, just be on the lookout for it.
Absolutely. Well, when Rex texted me, I was like, holy cow, I'm getting to my office right now. Like I couldn't wait to get there. But nice. I've thought that's a good point because I've toyed with letting it just be a complete surprise or dropping a hint. And I'm glad you said that because I've kind of done it both ways. And I think you might be right that the anticipation of it is equally as important.
So good. That's great.
Yeah.
So Cara, is there something else? Is there anything else you would add to sort of what you feel like is responsible for your production? You are in the top 2% of all realtors statewide. Is there anything else that you can think of?
Yeah, I wrote a note. What was it? Stay top of mind, which I think I talked about. That's really, really important because everybody, and especially in a good market, lots of people are getting their license because they've heard it's a good market. So staying top of mind. And I wrote down taking care of your sphere, which we did kind of talk about. I do with my gifting, and I also do a yearly gift to my sphere. And I check in with them. And then I also wrote down good referral partners because I happen now to, at this stage in my career, have really good referral partners, whether it's friends. I have a loan officer who sends me a lot of business. So fostering those relationships with lenders, and then a property manager who happens to be my husband. Okay. I'll let that, but he is a property manager. They have lots of clients that want to sell at the end of their terms of their leases. I get some good referrals there. So a good referral partner. And maybe you started a networking group and I know that sounds painful. It was painful for me, but I did it. And guess what? Those people that I referenced in Monroe that had the squatter, I met them at a networking group. Nice. Ended up doing 4 transactions for them, 2 for them, 2 for their daughter. I didn't want to do a networking group at all, but years later it paid off. So just figuring out where you're going to find those people that refer you. And another thing that I do is I volunteer. So I'm on the, not shockingly, Little League board. So every email I send out through there has my signature line, with my website, all of that. So that, I don't know if they're looking at it in my mind. They're like, oh, she's an agent. They're not doing that, but that's what I tell myself. But, again, I think that all goes back to top of mind, just stay top of mind. And it might take a while. It took me a really long time, and it does pay off. It really does. Staying in the flow.
Nice. That's great. Yep. 2 things. One, I definitely need to talk to your husband. I'd love to get him on the show. So I'll be in touch about that later.
Yeah.
That would be awesome to hear from.
He has a great personality also.
Okay, cool. And then the second thing is I have a kindergartner right now. And if you, I reached out to the school and said, hey, you send out an email with an attachment every year with important dates for the school. Is there any way I can take that and make that into a magnet and put my logo at the bottom and so they can throw it on the fridge? And she just was like, yeah, that would be awesome. So if you have a kid in a school, think of a way you can be front of mind by every time they reference their fridge for what day their kids get out of school early, that your name's on it somewhere, right?
Absolutely. And the other thing that goes along with that is I was the room mom. And again, remember I talked about not having a creative bone in my body. I didn't want to plan parties. I didn't want to do anything. So I delegated all of that. All I really, I did want to be involved, but at the end of the day, all my emails that went out had my signature. People knew who I was. I was in the classroom when I could be. And it doesn't mean I was planning parties because that's not my forte, but I was there and doing what I could do to sort of be visible, but also staying in my lane, figuring out how to be top of mind but also being in your comfort zone too.
For sure. For sure. Okay.
Yep.
This is one of my last questions, Cara.
Yep.
First of all, thanks again. This has been super fun.
Yep.
If you could, crystal ball it, which I know we don't do real well, but just talk for a minute just about anything you would add to what you would say about the next 12 months in our market. What do you see happening?
Yep. Well, I think the obvious, and I know people that turn on any sort of TV or radio are going to hear the interest rates. They're going up. I mean, it was bound to happen. And I don't know how much impact that will have. I mean, clearly in our area, and again, if you're a listener and you're not in our area, maybe it's different, but in our area, we happen to be a very strong job economy. We have a lot of big powerhouses here. So I don't know if that will affect maybe sort of our clientele here, but it will affect, obviously, rising interest rates decreases your buying power. That's an obvious statement. So perhaps that changes things a little bit. One thing I wonder, and I saw this a little bit before, is with rising prices, will sellers get a little too greedy? Will they go, gosh, my neighbor listed at 1.8, I'm going to try 2 too. And then homes maybe start to sit a little bit more. So that could have a little bit of an effect. Just people going, if my neighbor got that, my house is way nicer, I'm going to try this. And then you see maybe a little longer days on market. Maybe that price drop that we haven't been seeing comes into effect. So maybe there's some changes. And for brokers listening, maybe there's a influx of brokers that enter the marketplace because they've heard it's a really great market. And then you just got to stay educated. You got to just keep on, because you are going to deal with those agents out there who are maybe in it for the wrong reasons, I guess. I don't know. Less professional. But maybe that's a factor too. Maybe that's a change. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree. Those are great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anything else that you want us to know or say before we end our little time here? This has been great.
Gosh, this was so fun. My gosh, I was not even nervous. I mean, I was mostly worried about looking at myself this whole time, but I just tried to not do that. No, I will say real estate is a fabulous career. I'm super thankful. All those years ago, my husband said I should do it. And I tell him that all the time. And he's like, you're going to mention me, right? I said, of course, it's the truth. You did steer me this way. And I will say too, the same advice I gave my niece is, remember, the harder transactions are going to teach you a lot. So and you're going to have them. We all do. So if you have a little bit of a bumpy transaction, guess what? You're probably going to take away more from that than a super duper smooth one. So just buckle up. It's not an easy job. It's a really rewarding job. It's a great job. I wouldn't change it. Wouldn't change anything.
Awesome. Cara, thank you so much.
Thank you. What a fun way to spend the morning.
Thank you so much for listening in to Pocket Hours. I hope this has been interesting, fun, made you laugh, made you think, spurred you on to do and implement some new things in your business. I appreciate your time and hope this has been a good use of it, period. Now, go be the agent you would hire.